Fusion Mobile, quality e-learning experience on the go.
We would look into the part 2 of public administration, and the first thing that we'll do will be to look into the subject matter of public corporations. A public corporation is defined as government establishment or enterprises set up by an act of parliament to provide essential services like electricity, postal services, pipe-borne waters, good housing scheme, etc. Most public corporations are managed and supervised by board of directors appointed by the government for a specific period of time. A public corporation is headed by a chairman as the head of the board. We have examples of public corporations today in Nigeria. We have the Water Corporation, we have the Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, we have the Nigerian Railway Corporation, Nigeria Ports Authority, we have the National Electric Power Authority, etc. The state governments are also involved in the provision of these essential services. What are the features of public corporations? Number 1, public corporations are owned and controlled by the government, not private individuals. Number 2, they are mainly set up to provide essential services for the people. Number 3, public corporations are created by a special act of the parliament. Number 4, public corporations, they are established and they have legal standing. That is to say that they can sue and be sued. Number 5, there are board of directors which direct the affairs of public corporation, whose appointments are political. Number 6, public corporations can take some independent decisions without the government. Number 7, workers in the public corporation are referred to as public servants. These are some of the features of a public corporation. What are the reasons for setting up public corporations? Reasons for setting up public corporations. Number 1, public corporations are set up mainly to provide essential services for the people. Number 2, public corporations are established to prevent private individuals from getting involved in these services, which may result to exploitation of the people by these private individuals if they are allowed to be involved. Number 3, public corporations are to provide such services which cannot be provided by individuals owing to huge capital outlay. For example, railway construction, provision of pipe-borne waters, provision of good health facilities, etc. 4, public corporations are also established to create employment opportunities for the people. Number 5, public corporations are set up to raise the people's living standard. Thus, it also leads to increased productivity and constant supply. So this is to say that when there is increase in productivity and constant supply of these services, it improves the living standards of people in the society. Number 6, efficient and adequate provision of essential services can stimulate or generate investment for both local and foreign businessmen. Thus, public corporations has been set up for the benefit of economic growth. Number 7, public corporations also have been set up to undertake some projects which are strategic for security reasons. Example, minting and arms production, etc. Having looked into the reasons for the setting up of public corporations, we would also consider the structure of organization of a public corporation. Number 1, we have the political head. The minister is the overall political head of the corporation and gives policy guidelines to the board of the corporation. Number 2, the chairman. At the apex of the administration is the chairman, who is a government appointee. Number 3, the board of directors / governing board. The board of directors is made up of appointed directors who initiates and formulates policies for the corporation. Number 4, the managing director / the general manager. These people assist the board in the day-to-day running of the corporation and at the same time see to the execution of corporate policies. Number 5, key senior officials. The management is made up of key senior officials who assist the managing director / general manager in overall administration of the corporation. As heads of different units, they also supervise other categories of staff. How is a public corporation controlled? Will be the next point of our discourse. Control of public corporations. Number 1, we have legislative control or acts of parliament. Public corporations are set up by an act of parliament which stipulates their powers. Thus, any public corporation that is deficient and unproductive could be abolished by the legislature. Number 2, we have ministerial control. A minister whose ministry controls a public corporation can appoint and dissolve board of directors of such corporations. The minister also has the power to appoint and even dismiss some senior categories of staff in any corporation under his control. The minister also approves any loan to be taken and some major expenditure, as he also appoints auditors to audit the accounts of public corporations under his control. Number 3, we have judicial control or court order. The courts can declare any act made by some corporations illegal or unconstitutional. This is done when they are breaching the act upon which they were set up. The judiciary can also stop any public corporation from denying its services to any customer. These are ways through which public corporations could be controlled. We will look into the last point of our discussion under the topic public corporations, which is the differences between public corporations and the civil service. Number 1, the public corporation has board of directors managing its affairs, while the civil service is managed by a minister who received advice from the permanent secretary. Number 2, workers in the public corporations are called public servants, while workers in the civil service are called civil servants. Number 3, the political head of a public corporation is called the chairman, while the political head of a civil service is called the minister. Number 4, board of directors employ workers into the public corporation, while in the civil service commission employs through open competition or interview. Number 5, public corporation is involved in providing essential services for the people, while the civil service is involved in policy making and implementation, as they also advise the government. Number 6, public corporation is expected to make profit, while the civil service does not make profit. Instead, they are welfare oriented. Number 7, in the public corporation, decision making is not affected in any form, and so it can easily be taken, while in the civil service, decision making is affected by bureaucracy. These and many others forms the differences between public corporations and the civil service. Having come to the end of our discussion on public corporations, we would go straight away into the part 3 of public administration, which is the local governments.